Jiggy Jag TV at the Red Shed. It is going down like the Titanic's violinist. Sean Chambers is with us. Sean, how are you?
Good, man. How you doing?
Pretty good, actually. So, tell me a little bit about your performance this evening.
Well, I've got a new album out. It's called That's What I'm Talking About, and it's a tribute to Hubert Sumlin. Hubert Sumlin was the guitar player for Howlin' Wolf for 25 years, Muddy Waters, and I got the really great opportunity to play with him as a guitar player back in 1998. And yeah, I toured with him for over 4 years. He taught me a lot about the blues, life on the road, and great storyteller. It was great. Kind of like I refer to it as my college education in the blues. So unfortunately, he passed away in 2011. So I always knew I wanted to do some kind of tribute to him, whether it was an album or a song on an album. Turns out we ended up this last album decided to do a tribute to Hubert. So tonight we're going to be doing a lot of stuff off the new CD, as well as our last few CDs, and a couple of covers for good measure. So we're looking forward to it.
So, how did you get interested in the blues?
Well, back when I was a teenager, I was listening to all the classic rock stuff that my friends were listening to. Yeah. And then when I was about 15 years old, I had a friend of mine. He was about a year older than me. He got his driver's license, and his dad got him an ugly old green used Pinto. And he said, "Man, I'm gonna come pick you up. I got my car. I'm gonna pick you up. And we're cruising around." So I said, "Cool." So he picked me up, and that was back in the days with cassette players. So
I know those days very well.
Yeah. So he put on Red House by Jimi Hendrix.
That's awesome.
And I had never heard the blues. I had never heard Jimi Hendrix at that point. I think I was 14. And I said, "Man, what kind of music is that? Who is that?" He said, "That's blues. It's Jimi Hendrix." And that's the first time the hair on my arm stood up. Listening to music. And I was still kind of learning the guitar and learning my way around, And I knew from that moment that's what I want to do. I want to play that kind of stuff. So then I listened to Hendrix for a couple years and started getting into a lot of the Texas blues players like Albert Collins and Billy Gibbons, Johnny Winter, Freddie King, of course Stevie Ray. There's so many of them. And then I kind of, started learning about their influences, Muddy Waters and Howlin' Wolf, Lightning Apples. Kind of backing my way into the blues,
That's awesome. So, tell me a little bit about this new album. You've put a lot of time and effort into this. Take me through the writing process, everything that you...
Well, we actually went into the studio back in March of 2020, right before COVID hit, March 1st. And my producer and engineer at the time, Ben Elliott, who produced my last 2 CDs. So this would be my 3rd CD with Ben, and it was on American Showcase Records. I was talking to him about the concept for the record, for the album, and he was asking me what kind of songs I've written. I said, "I've got some bits and pieces, and I need to complete a lot of stuff." And I said, "But I've always thought about doing a tribute to Hubert." And he goes, "That's perfect." He said, "Why don't we just make it a tribute to Hubert somehow?" So that's how we decided the concept of it. Flew up there in March 1st, 2020, did the album. We were supposed to leave to go home on the 7th and then go to Europe on the 9th. And then right about then, COVID was hitting really hard, so our European tour was canceled. We flew home. Ben sent me the mixed tracks and the master tracks about 3 or 4 weeks later. And then unfortunately, a few weeks later, he passed away.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he had been at that studio for like almost 30 years. He recorded with Eric Clapton, Keith Richards, Leslie West, Savoy Brown.
Holy crap.
Yeah, it was unreal. It was really sad. He was not only a great producer and a great engineer, and the owner of the record label I was on, but he was a really good friend. He was really into guitar. He made me feel like really comfortable at home in the studio, which can be hard to do because the studio is kind of a sterile environment. You don't have that energy in the crowd. So with that being said, we flew home. Everything was canceled, and of course, after Ben passed away, the record label was defunct. And so the album was kind of in limbo, and it was done. So then about probably about 8 or 9 months ago, I was talking with a couple people from Porto Valley Records.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and they were interested, wanted to learn more about me, and listen to the album, really liked the album. And they went ahead and signed me to Porto Valley Records and released the album. And I'm very grateful for that.
That is fantastic.
Yeah, especially, being the idea when you release an album is the tour behind it. So they released the album was released on July 9th. And I feel real grateful. They picked me up beside me, especially being in the middle of the whole COVID thing. There wasn't a lot going on. There was more people dropping out of the scene than trying to get into it. So here we are. We're doing our first CD release tour.
That's awesome. So, if you could play with any 3 blues artists, living, dead, you know, the band's broke up, whatever, who would they be?
One of those questions. Man, I have to say Rory Gallagher. He's one of my favorite Irish guitar players.
That's awesome.
We covered Bullfrog Blues on my Trouble and Whiskey album by Rory. Albert Collins.
That's awesome.
And Jeff Beck. It's hard to pick. It'd be hard to pick 10, much less 3.
So, tell me a little bit about some of the players in your band.
The newest member of the band is Andre Korbanix. He's on drums, and he actually is from New Jersey, where we flew to do the album. And Ben, who I told you about, Ben Elliott, the producer, put us together. And kind of wanted to take me out of my comfort zone a little bit, so he wanted me to use a studio band. So he brought Andre in to do the album, and now, 2 years later, Andre moved to Florida. He's my full-time drummer.
Wow.
So we got Andre, who just recently moved to Florida from New Jersey. He's on the album on drums. Todd Cook's on bass. He's been with me for about 6 years.
Wow.
He's been on my last three albums. We got Rick Kern on the keyboards, and he's been with me about 5 or 6 years.
That's awesome.
And myself on guitar, so 4-piece band.
That's pretty cool. So, before we let you go, how do people get your album, social media, websites, all this stuff?
Yeah, you can go to SeanChambers.com. It's SEAN, Chambers.com, and the links to buy the album are there. Or you can just go to all the usual retailers online, like iTunes, Amazon.
Awesome.
Usual places. We're on Spotify, all the streaming services, etc.
Good stuff.
Yeah, man.
Well, thanks for doing this, brother.
Man, you got it. Thanks for having me.
And thanks for watching Jiggy Jag TV.
Makes me really know